Thank you, Bruce, and thank you to the Press Club for inviting me here today. I constructed a Prezi, and I don't know if you're familiar with Prezi presentations, but I love them. They're great when they work. So right now, we've been loading for quite some time, and I don't know if it's going to cooperate with me. So if nothing else, it'll just make a lovely backdrop. But there is probably, let's see here. All right. We'll see how we do. If we can't see the images again, I will describe them to you in full Technicolor, so we're good to go. So though DAP, Downtown Akron Partnership, we call ourselves DAP sometimes, I prefer Downtown Akron Partnership, has been around since 1996, as Bruce mentioned. We encounter and work with, on a daily basis, a number of different issues. And so the organization that we are today is very different than the organization that we were 15 years ago and more. Now more than ever, we encounter residents and visitors and employees and stakeholders every day, and it's seldom that we get an opportunity to really talk about what we do from sort of a bird's eye view, which is what I'm planning to do for you today. And so this image is if we were to look into a crystal ball that perhaps we fabricated ourselves to reflect on what we anticipate seeing in downtown in the future, as well as including how we interface with downtown and work with downtown today, it would look a little bit like how we're going, or this presentation that I'm going to show you today, or describe to you, whichever works best. So in 1996, property owners got together with, actually this was inspired by Akron Tomorrow. The property owners in the downtown area got together with our local government and decided to pursue a special improvement district. At the time, that was very forward thinking for a downtown area to do. Now, if you are familiar with special improvement districts, or business improvement districts as they are called in some other areas of the state and across the nation, they're very, very popular. So essentially, they function as a tool to be able to get things done for a small geographic area of a city. So it is above and beyond the city services that would be normally provided to a geographic area, and it's a way to enhance services, perhaps to do beautification, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and anything and everything to be responsive to the needs of that geographic area. So our special improvement district in downtown Akron is a 42-block district, and the property owners within that district assess themselves a special improvement tax that is then generated, collected, run through the city and county, and then that is given to us as the nonprofit that is selected to manage those funds to try to make the downtown area vibrant and valuable. And so that is our mission, a vibrant and valuable downtown. So we do that in 3 different ways. As I said, it was very difficult when the SID was coming into being to get that passed. And if you think about downtown in 1996, I don't know, were any of you folks around in downtown in 1996? A very different town. And we don't always stop to think about what is going on as things develop. I mean, even as new as the development on Broadway with the creation of the depot and the new residents that will be living there, we're already getting used to seeing that as part of the landscape, and it's very, very new. I mean, forever that was the storage paper warehouse for the Akron Beacon Journal, and now that skyline is completely different. But as we come to work every day, we sometimes forget to stop and think back at how things looked. So many folks that have been around in downtown for a long time will talk about how that you could roll a bowling ball down Main Street in the middle of the day and you wouldn't hit anything in 1996. At the time, when Downtown Akron Partnership was coming into being, we were charged with creating the very first Night, and we'll talk a little bit about First Night as we go along. At that time, First Night and Canal Park Stadium, that was about it in downtown. Since then, the Civic Theater has been renovated, the Akron Art Museum has been renovated, the Akron Summit County Public Library has been renovated. If you think about what Lock 3 used to look like before the buildings were taken out, it really wasn't that long ago. You know, you think about the Akron Marathon, Main Street Muffins got its start right where Lock 3 is sitting today. So this tremendous development has occurred over the last 15 years, and we like to think that we were a little bit a part of that in conjunction with local government, the growth of the university, and the growth of downtown as a destination overall. So we are the nonprofit that manages that income from the Special Improvement District, and as our mission states, it's our job to promote and build a vibrant and valuable downtown. So looking at the number of things that we do, it's always kind of difficult to pick and choose and figure out what I need to tell you about what we do. So today you're going to see just some of the highlights. If, again, our presentation cooperates. Let's see how we do. Whoops. Let's see if we can do it this way. Okay, fabulous. So the three main proponents or initiatives in our mission are clean, safe, and vibrant. So we obviously need a very clean downtown, a safe downtown, a place where people want to come and visit. Marketing and promotions, and stakeholder services. And through the years, those three main initiatives have morphed a little bit here and there, depending on the resources that we had available and what we could do with them. But those are our basic three compass points that keep us oriented to our work throughout the year. Our approach to our work is to try to be the perfect partner. And that sounds kind of odd, but when you think about the perfect partner that you would want to work with, you want someone who is useful, someone who is effective, someone who's collaborative, and someone who is diligent. And so we try to use those four things, and especially me personally, I try to carry that into my work so that we are always being useful, thoughtful, effective, and collaborative, as well as diligent. So on a everyday basis almost, we are analyzing the work that we do, we analyze the programs that we carry on, and how effective are they and how relevant they are. We are consistently learning from the work of others and looking at best practices across the nation to try to inform the way that we do our work. We are also very aware of the fact that Akron is a unique neighborhood, and so we have to keep on our toes as far as being responsive and looking at things as national trends, but also understanding how is that going to work in the Akron neighborhood, or how can we make this successful in the Akron neighborhood. We're nothing if we're not useful, so we want to make sure that every day we are doing as much as we can to be useful to our stakeholders, to our visitors, and to whoever we may encounter downtown. That includes responding to concerns and assisting stakeholders, and getting our work done is most important. Making progress and positive change with the work that we do always relies heavily on collaboration. And so I know collaboration is a big buzzword, and everyone says that everyone's very collaborative, and certainly they are, but we absolutely adhere to the fact that we can't get anything done as an organization short of maybe some of our very basics, the everyday meat and potatoes of our job, which is picking up trash and making a beautiful downtown, without the collaboration of others. And having that ability to collaborate has certainly allowed us to do so much more with our SID revenue than we could have ever done just alone. So we work hard every day. We have a staff of 7 total folks in our regular staff. There are 6 of us, 6 full-time, 1 part-time, and then we have a team of 9 clean and safe ambassadors who help us get our work done on the streets every day. So we're looking at downtown today, and we're taking a look at downtown in the future. Yay, it's working. All right, so clean, safe, and vibrant. We've got to be amused about things every day. So clean, safe, and vibrant, this is one of our first and foremost initiatives. In an area where there are broken windows, in an area where there is graffiti, in an area where there is trash, you will not want to go. It will be perceived as unsafe no matter how safe it may be. And actually our downtown neighborhood is very safe. So we have this team of 9 fabulous ambassadors. This is Mr. Daryl Stamps on our new ALTV. And they spend their days cleaning up litter, picking up weeds or pulling weeds, removing graffiti, and doing power washing. So to give you some stats on our clean ambassadors only, in 2012, they picked up nearly 43 pounds of garbage, which is insane. When you think about, 43,000 pounds of garbage, which is insane. So when you think of that number and that quantity of garbage and how much garbage that would be in this room, it's quite astronomical. And unfortunately, we see these stats, and we keep track of these stats on an annual basis. And the thing is, they're picking up as much trash this year as they've picked up every year since they have started to pick up trash. So unfortunately, to err is human and to litter is human, and so we're going to be needing to do that work, from here on out, apparently. 1,200 graffiti tags were removed, and they spent roughly 500 hours power washing in 2012. They removed weeds from more than 400 block faces. And again, that's the work that they do every day and that we do every day, and that work is not going to go away. At the close of our 2012-2013 fiscal year, Downtown Akron Partnership was actually under budget. We were doing very, very well, and so we purchased this new ALTV, which is an all-terrain litter vacuum that picks up trash that Daryl can ride throughout the downtown neighborhood. It is a replacement to what used to be the Green Machine. Does anybody remember the Green Machine? All right, so it's the Green Machine's new replacement. One thing that we are looking forward to in the future is increasing the presence of our ambassadors and also looking for some unusual staffing partnerships so that we can stretch those ambassador resources and make sure that downtown is as clean and beautiful as possible. In addition to their work, they also perform safety initiatives or safety services. Last year in 2012, again, and 2013, the ambassadors performed 11,114 hospitality assists, which is an increase of 21% since 2009, and 4,002 parking assists, 710 vehicle assists. And some of those stats, if you're a numbers person, they're very interesting to watch as our cleaning initiatives stay pretty much the same, they maintain, but our hospitality work and our safety work is starting to really spike, which is a sign of a couple things. One, that we have more visitors in the downtown area, but also that the word is getting out about the services that we provide. Our ambassadors do jump starts. If you lock your keys in your car, they will come to you and get your keys out of your car for you. They will do a safety escort and walk you to a destination. So they are really and truly both hospitality and eyes and ears safety-wise on the street every day, and very important to the work that we do. Our beautification efforts included expansion of floralscaping in 2012 and 2013. Many people aren't aware of the fact that the planter boxes in downtown, as well as the sidewalk planters, some in-ground planters, and areas like Commerce Park are maintained by our safety and cleaning ambassadors. Those plants, because they aren't on an irrigation system, are actually watered 7 days a week when they were up and running. So they just were recently removed, but there's a photograph to remind you of how beautiful they were. We expanded out to the Metro Transit Center this year. Water Street, Cascade Plaza had an expansion last year. This year we pulled that in anticipation of the work being done there. Commerce Park was completely revitalized through Downtown Akron Partnership efforts. And Austin Bioinnovation Institute got a little facelift up in front on the sidewalk public right-of-way there. We also have added the planter boxes. Those are a fabulous addition, and increased the number of sidewalk planters. In the future, we're looking to do an irrigation system and also working on our streetscape initiative, which are the coordinated newspaper corrals and trash cans that you see downtown. So the completion of the Towpath Trail in 2012 meant that 125,000 people were using the trail as a source of recreation and transit. We want to work with the Towpath Trail, and we are actively working with the Towpath Trail, to create an excursion loop off of the trail to lead people through the downtown Akron area. We did a little prototype work on that this fall to see what that might look like, and we're trying to figure out the best solution for how to make that happen. We'd also like to increase the ambassador presence on the towpath and work on some entryway signage so that when you're entering the towpath, any of you familiar with towpath use? So you're coming in from either the north or coming in from the south, we would like to do some entryway signage to really show people, hey, you're in downtown, you can go this way, and then once you go this way, then we can tell people how to go for restaurants, or here's how you go to enjoy cultural amenities. We want what Peninsula has. You know, Peninsula has the train, Peninsula has some really great dining destinations, so downtown Akron has the train, downtown Akron has some really great dining destinations, so there's really no reason why those two things can't grow together, and we'd like to see that increase. Another thing that we work hard on is working with the homeless and with panhandlers. So last year, we started meeting quarterly with some of our stakeholders who help us from social services agencies and give us referrals in working with the homeless population downtown. Downtown Akron is actually, it is a very generous city. Akron itself is a very, very generous city. And so be very proud of the fact that we are a very generous city. We are so generous indeed that we are a destination for folks who are homeless because they know what great services they can get in our neighborhood. And so that is something we're very proud of, but also something that we need to manage so that when people come in from out of the area, they're not intimidated by encountering the homeless or they get the wrong idea or impression of the downtown area. So something that we'd like to look at doing moving forward is advocating for change in the panhandling legislation. If you're familiar, Summit County just made some really great changes in the legislation prohibiting people from standing at corners or intersections, and we would like to see if it's possible to do that in the downtown area. And we'd also like to work on getting a social services ambassador. This is something that's done in many other cities across the nation, and typically our ambassadors work with panhandlers, and the panhandlers may start to understand that the ambassadors don't always want them standing in front of a business. So their relationship with someone who may be homeless or in need of social services isn't necessarily the most positive one. A social services ambassador has a completely different approach. There are folks living in the woods outside of or behind the north side who've been there for years and years, and it takes a long time and a lot of effort to get to know them and get them to trust you to the point where you can actually help them get in line with the social services that they need. And so if we could bring someone like that onto our staff to work closely with those service agencies, that's something that we would like to do to, again, do a better job with what we do 365 days of the year. All right, taking a quick look at Nightlife. Downtown After 6 is relatively new to the plate for the Downtown Akron Partnership. We pay for an Akron police officer that is the SID shift supervisor in the downtown area, who is there Thursday nights, Friday nights, and Saturday nights. So how many of you guys enjoy nightlife in downtown? Awesome. Okay, way more than normal, which is great. Normally, when I do a presentation, people aren't that familiar. So last year we brought in a consultant from the Responsible Hospitality Institute to help us to work with our nightlife businesses and our nightlife security forces to try to create a more cohesive management plan for nightlife. He talked about needing a balance in nightlife that appeals to singles, mingles, families, and jingles, which these are the nightlife terms for the single folks being the very young, just out of college or perhaps still in college, who are really just looking for a good time and night out. The mingles who are more into longer term relationships, perhaps they're looking for a night out, but one where you can actually talk to one another. The families, which is an obvious category, and then the jingles, who are to the age where they do not have their young children with them or the need to have a babysitter for young children, but would like to come out and enjoy nightlife. So he talked about diversifying the nightlife scene. We're very proud to announce, if you haven't heard about it yet, the incoming Jilly's Music Room in the north side that will appeal to, I'd say, mingles, families with babysitters, and jingles, because it's a blues and jazz club. And also Tony Tropy is working on a blues club called Blue. So those will be great welcome additions to the nightlife neighborhood so that we have a nice, diverse neighborhood. We'd also like to work on creating a memorandum of understanding with our nightlife businesses. The reason for that is because not all nightlife businesses are out for the betterment of the neighborhood. So we want to try to get everyone on board with some best practices on how they will manage, how they will promote, how they will train security staff, and adhering to liquor license policies. So that's something, it's not easy, but something that we want to do in the future as well. We'd also like to extend our evening ambassador presence and work with other BIDs and SIDs across Ohio to work with the Board of Liquor Control to try to come up with some strategies to really make an impact on businesses that aren't adhering to those best practices. So that's just our clean and safe and vibrant arm. So now we're going to talk a little bit about marketing and promotion, and I'll speed up because I have a feeling I'm probably running a little long. Oh, okay, because we have to have time for questions. So marketing and promotion, you have one of these fabulous Discover Downtown Destination magazines in your packet. That's a new initiative for us this year. It's a way for us to try to direct traffic to all of the great things that there are to see and do in downtown Akron. Despite really great results on our general survey that we host every year, and it's still online, so if you have a moment, please take our general survey. about the safety and the things there are to do in downtown Akron, one thing that we often hear is either it's not safe or there's nothing to do. So if you check out our website, it's a very comprehensive list of all the different things going on in the downtown area, and there is plenty to do in downtown, again, for all those different demographics, whether you're singles, mingles, families, or jingles. All right, so the Destination Downtown magazine, as I said, is in your packet, so take a look at that, and if you have any suggestions for improvement, please let us know, because that's something we'd be willing to shape in the future. So important to our organization, and Sharon Gilbert here at the table, she's our Director of Communications, does a great job, is telling our story. Telling the Downtown Akron Partnership story is done through our comprehensive website, our mobile website, we have a mobile version, newsletters and e-newsletters that are sent out bi-monthly, the Parking Friend app, we actually have an app that will tell you where and when to park, how much it costs, and how many steps you are from your destination. The Distinctly Downtown blog, our Facebook page, our Twitter, Instagram, and we have a new Explore board that we are participating in at the Akron Canton Airport. In the future, we are looking at doing a website redesign, because our website is fabulous and very comprehensive, but to the modern website viewer, it's a bit weighty. There's a lot of information on there, and so we want to make it a bit more easy to navigate. And then also a new tool to connect people to all that there is to do in downtown. We also, for our promotions, these are some of the promotional items that we offer. We have our Do Downtown program, which we are looking to reimagine in the coming years. We also have a presence at over 50 events during the year. And starting last February, we started the Kiss My Akron campaign, which, if you haven't heard about it, is a way for you to share love with your downtown businesses. You get a little kiss cling, and you can give a kiss to a downtown business that you love, or a nonprofit. And that's just a great way to show ownership, or to feel ownership of your community and show the love that you have for it. We also do the Downtown Akron Passport, and the Passport encapsulates a number of activities, about 15 activities that you can do in the downtown area for only $15. This I'm going to kind of fly through, but this shows another way that we're being responsive to the different spectator events that come in and out of the downtown area. All of these different events occurred in the downtown area, and we customized a map and/or information for them. So this is a way that we try to be responsive to, whether it be the marathon crowd or the new crowd coming into the Akron Rubber Ducks. Congratulations on their renaming. That sounds really exciting. The Soapbox Derby, or any number of events that come in and around the downtown area. For events that we do ourselves, Rich Hazelton is our director of events, and this year we've done some great neighborhood programming. We also help manage the Akron Art Walk, if you've never been to the Downtown Akron Art Walk. And this year we started a new initiative with support from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation called Live and Local, and we're going to see if this video will run. It may not. It's a YouTube video, so if I have to skip, I will. Live and Local was a great partnership with a local entrepreneur named Lauren Ward, who has a boutique in the shops at Akron Center called Noto. Every year she did an annual fashion show. If you've ever been, it's fabulous. If you've never been, please make sure you take advantage of it, because it's one of the coolest things. So we took the trolley barn that's back behind the ABIA building and put up a runway, and had this wonderful sort of urban, gritty fashion show that featured some wonderful local talent, including the Shivering Timbers, and also partnered with Akron Film and Pixel, who we are hoping will be opening an independent cinema in downtown soon. And they cast a short attention span film festival on the John S. Knight Center walls, and people could go and vote for them with their phones. The fashion show featured a designer's challenge with some local designers, and it was a wonderful event. So it's a great partnership, and it was a really fun way to highlight some of the emerging local talent that we have, and some of the events that are a little less legacy style, if that makes sense. So really trying to appeal to some of those singles and mingles. All right, so this isn't cooperating. We're going to move on. Very good. First Night Akron is now in its 18th year. Was anyone around for the very first Night? Awesome. All right, so first night, there's a card in your packet with, and it actually does feature the art. This is the first time the art is being seen this year. It was created by artist David Soleil and features an owl. It's a lot of fun. It's super trendy. So first night this year had about 15,000 people who came to see the event. We took a very serious look at the event about 2 years ago and tried to reshape it to make sure that it was very relevant to the downtown community. We shaved about $50,000 out of the budget so that we could spend those $50,000 on other things the other 364 days of the year, and had an amazing turnout, which this is a shot of the street, of Main Street before the fireworks. It's very hard to see, so I apologize. And I have a video, but I'm going to skip it, because we know it's not going to load. And so an amazing turnout and a great time. That is something that we will continue to do so long as we see that it's relevant, and then we'll always work to make sure that it's proportionate to our budget and proportionate to the work that we continue to do. It relies heavily on sponsorships and partnerships. First Night was originally created, or the founding partners of First Night, I should say, were the Akron Beacon-Journal, as well as the City of Akron. And maintaining it has been heavily carried by First Merit Foundation, as well as Acme Fresh Markets, and PNC jumped in as a recent sponsor. Metro has been an ongoing sponsor and provides the bus service that is available throughout the night as well. So that event, more than any that we do, there's less than 7% of our SID revenue that we spend on it. It has a $167,000 budget. Our contribution is always under $30,000 from the Special Improvement District, so that shows how much fundraising occurs to get that running. Akron Art Prize was also new this year, and my other image isn't loading. The winning piece of art, this was a very young artist-friendly competition. It was a partnership with the Margaret Clark Morgan Foundation and allowed for about 160 new artists to show their work in gallery spaces downtown. The winner's name was Chris Kavasevich this year. His creation was actually made with little lipstick kisses. He put different shades of lipstick on and created a self-portrait. The great thing about the partnership this year was it allowed an emerging artist to have his work in the Akron Art Museum for 2 weeks. So it was really an incredible opportunity for him. Last but not least, and most importantly, are the services that we provide to our stakeholders in the downtown area. It is always important for us to make sure that we are increasing property values, working on business recruitment and retention, and as well as filling vacant spaces in the downtown area. So this is something that we take seriously, and we have really added a lot to what we do in the last 2 years as far as stakeholder services are concerned. As I said before, we are a very collaborative organization, and so we rely heavily, these are just some of the folks that we partner with. I think another important thing to say when we were talking about budget and SID revenue is that we are able to bring in sponsorships. You know, having that SID revenue helps us get sponsorships and grants. The GAR Foundation and the Akron Community Foundation both fund us with general operating dollars, which allows us that flexibility and discretion and provides us with that implicit trust to make decisions on how we spend that revenue throughout the year so that we can attract more people to downtown. All right, so another one of the initiatives that we do, we have our Emerging Leaders group that is Kimberly Beckett as our liaison to this group, and it's a group of about 25 younger professionals, I should say young professionals, who worked on initiatives that make downtown attractive to those younger professionals. They have taken on a project called My Akron, which is a sort of a crowdsourcing initiative to try to help get some very quick and dirty jobs done. We're working on our first one. The windows of the Civic Block, they identified, or actually a community person identified as an area that needed some love. So we are going to try to beautify those windows in the Civic Block as the first My Akron project. They also do Restaurant Week to attract people to our downtown restaurants. Last night, which is the non-alcohol-free, non-family friendly alternative to the first night celebration, which is a great party. There's a photo from it there. And then they do business outreach visits with us as well, particularly when we're talking to a younger crowd. We also have our farmers market, and we do a number of neighborhood initiatives in the downtown area to try to make sure that we feel like a neighborhood, especially with all of these new residents coming into the area, which I'm going to talk about next. We want to make sure that we have an environment that is inviting and exciting for people to live, work, and play. As far as advocacy goes, we serve on committees, some of them Bruce mentioned earlier. We work as a liaison to ABM, which is the parking folks that manage parking in the downtown area. We're on the Downtown Operations Group Safety Task Force with the University of Akron, which was a development from that nighttime economy work, and a community policing group also with the University of Akron. And then we are also represented on the Food Truck Committee, that is relatively newly emerged, trying to come up with a good policy for food trucks, not only in downtown, but in Akron as well. And then before I mentioned residential services, we are certainly seeing a huge uptick in the number of residents that we have. In 2009, I believe we had about 1,200 residents in downtown. By the end of 2014, we anticipate having about 3,600. So there's a very large increase in the number of residents, and not only students. We're happy to see some housing coming in that's catering to young professionals and also empty nesters who have the desire to come back and live in a modern, cutting edge downtown. So we're trying to figure out ways for us to become that more cutting edge, exciting downtown, taking some keys from national trends. Some things that we're looking into the potential for would be a circulator is something that we have discussed in partnership with Metro, perhaps moving forward, because we have such a long, strung out downtown. Sometimes because we are Northeastern Ohioers and we have a tendency to take our cars from place to place. We would like to see a circulator loop to make us a little bit more public transit friendly. A bike share is another thing that would be an exciting opportunity for us to explore, and we're looking at some other cities and how they've done that in the past. And then also just a really good comprehensive wayfinding system in downtown. If you know downtown, you know downtown. If you don't know downtown, you tend to be walking around saying, where's this and where is that? So those are all things that we've identified that we could really help sort of change the dynamic in downtown and make some pretty serious improvements. We're also working hard to attract and retain new retail in the downtown area, and Kimberly Beckett is in the process of being trained as a retail recruiter. We brought in Boulevard Strategies as a consulting firm to help us do a comprehensive retail study, and we're wrapping up that study and moving forward with getting Kimberly trained so that she can actually go out with collateral materials and explain to people why it is exciting and fun to come into downtown and recruit more retail for us. We also do pop-ins and interviews every year. So if there's any desire for any of us to come out and do a pop-in or an interview with you, let us know, because we always want to hear from you. So that gives you sort of a bird's eye view. We're coming full circle. Those are all the different things that we do or have a part in doing on a daily basis in downtown. And again, much more than the Just First Night about 18 years ago. That 365-day operation has become a much more significant piece of work for us to accomplish, and we're very excited about doing that. All right, can I have any questions? Yes?
We'll start with the hard one.
Okay.
Why are you against food trucks in downtown?
Thank you for asking. Okay, so thank you for asking. I appreciate having the opportunity to actually speak my opinion, because other than yesterday, I was on AKR and they asked me for it, and it was nice. Not against food trucks in downtown. I'm looking at Elizabeth because I know where this came from. So not against food trucks at all in downtown. What I do think is important is, and it is our job, is to be mindful of the balance in downtown. So when you look at Cleveland, for example, Cleveland is a bad example because they are much, much larger and they have a larger critical mass that they can sort of explore and fill using the business that a food truck might generate. They are so much, much larger. Akron is much smaller, proportionately speaking. And so food trucks, while they're vibrant and fun, and they have definitely worked at special events, and we've had them at special events, so we're actually not opposed to them at all. But we do think it needs to be mindfully done so that they won't threaten existing brick and mortar businesses. So when Cleveland, for example, they started with 912 district. 912? Yes, 912 district is an area that was very underserved, not just food-wise, but business-wise. They couldn't get a whole lot of office space. There was a lot of vacancy in that district. And so they were very strategic about inviting the food trucks in, and it worked wonders up in Cleveland to bringing a lot of vibrancy to 912. And then it was successful there, so then they started free stamp freestand Fridays. I think they're Fridays. So they have Walnut Street Wednesdays and 9/12, and then freestand Fridays that they've managed to do a really good job in programming them. So what we need to make sure, and where I stepped in as the Downtown Akron Partnership, was when we understood that food trucks were approaching City Council to have legislation changed, because there's two pieces. The first is that there's absolutely no legislation to permit food from a vehicle other than an ice cream truck in Akron. So that's something that Akron's working on, and we're on that committee to help change and shape that legislation. When we heard that food trucks were presenting to council that they wanted to see that changed, we just wanted to present that from the perspective of a business owner, having a food truck operate right outside of your doors was not a sustainable or a well thought out plan. And so in the interest of those business owners, Main Street, probably not the best place to do a food truck rally. But there are most likely great places where they could do food truck events that are limited in time and geographic area. And that's what we would want to explore in downtown. But I can't speak for the rest of all of Akron. Larger Akron may have a different take on it than we do, but that's what we've done.
Okay. With more living spaces being built in and near downtown that are exclusively designated for student housing, how does Akron avoid being labeled a college town and attract older crowds? And somebody defines older as 30 years and older.
Oh, okay, I'm in the ancient group. So the new housing that has been devoted largely to students, 22 Exchange is specific to students, 401 is actually not. So 401 Lofts invites young professionals, they have studio apartments. We'll see how things work with the depot. I think one of the important things, the moratorium on student housing certainly helped, trying to create a balance with the university and the housing that's also going up in Exchange Street. You don't want to create too much housing and then have it all go vacant and be impossible to fill. So from a planning perspective, we try to work with the city in our downtown operations group meetings to urge them to create housing that is catered for a different aged demographic. I don't know if older is 30, but different age demographic, but it's still market rate. Because if it's too high, then you're gonna have the same problem with too much student housing. There won't be anyone to live there. People won't be willing to sort of take that risk and be those urban pioneers that would move into the downtown area. The other question was addressing sort of things to do. And I think we've done a pretty good job between Art Museum, Civic Theater has very diverse programming that they offer. Again, some new different blues and jazz clubs that are springing up that will create more of a balanced sense in our downtown where it won't be exclusively a college town. And I think, and Dr. Peranzo, I would invite you to jump in if you had any thoughts, but there's a very different dynamic with the University of Akron and how it interacts with downtown. And so there are some pockets that are very student-driven, but we have done a really good job of sort of maintaining that balance, and we will continue to try to work to promote that balance because we want to make a nice, a safe environment for everyone to enjoy that is as equally welcoming to students as it might be for someone in a different age demographic.
Anything to add to that?
Exactly our pleasure.
Okay. What are you doing to keep the Civic from, it either says falling down or failing, either one, but falling down?
Falling down. So are we concerned about the structural issues within the Civic itself? Within the theater?
I'm concerned about everything about this.
I completely agree, and Howard Parr is in the room as well. So as a member of the Civics Board, it has been a struggle. The Civics song that they have been singing over the past several years has been one of getting themselves out of the trouble that they were in. They were in the danger zone where they were ready to close down and fold. And similar to Ford, I hope that's all right to compare you guys to Ford, they took no bailout. They started doing some very strategic programming and slowly building so that they could get their doors open more frequently, have more programming, and also allow for people to perform on their stage that would never have access to it. So they're a union house. If you're familiar with theater at all, it's extremely expensive to perform on a union stage. And so some of the grant funding that they've received, I believe through the Knight Foundation and GAR as well, has allowed for them to keep their doors open. That doesn't address some of their structural concerns, and because they are they have this weird dynamic of being a publicly owned facility but having no public stream of revenue, we're working very hard on addressing that issue to see what's the best way to secure some source of funding for them to keep them afloat. They continue to search for individual donors, so I strongly recommend anyone being a donor if you can support the theater in that way. And then they're also trying to look and do some investigating into ways to get public funding for the arts in our area, very similar to how they have public funding for the arts in other areas across the nation. So that's the Civic, unless Howard wants to. Okay. The buildings next to the Civic, they are actually, the property owner of the buildings next to the Civic, they are hoping to make a public announcement after the first of the year. And that project has been in long, stagnation since really the stock market crashed in 2009. They made this beautiful announcement of what they were planning to do with the space, but then the challenge is always financing. And so they are in the process of trying to get financing, but I understand that they are very close. There's movement there, and they're very close and hoping to announce something after the first.
Because I was on the original Civic board, we started when it was low, so it's been a long struggle. But it's kind of a heartbreak to see that it's not getting on top of it.
I agree, and they are definitely on top of it programming wise. They're doing a great job programming, and their challenge continues to be a way to fund the structure there.
One of the things that I attended this year was when the ballet company came down from Cleveland, and they did it on the stage. And I had told Ron it was one of the most exciting evenings I've been to at the Civic, because one could look out from the stage to that beautiful theater, which was lit and wonderful. But maybe that's too avant-garde an idea to keep doing.
No, they actually do a lot of events whenever they can host a smaller stage show where they anticipate the audience being smaller. They'll move them to the stage, and I completely agree. It's a very clever way of getting people to fall in love with the theater, because I know I as a child, I was never on that stage. So the first time I got to be on there as an adult, I was like, I got really excited. But the more people we can have on that stage looking out and looking at the experience that they get is a wonderful thing. So, all right, thanks for the question.
How will the Downtown Akron Partnership promote bars and activities downtown during First Night, which has been heavily marketed as a family orientation? Those businesses also need customers.
Good question. So First Night is alcohol-free and family-friendly. All of our official venues cannot serve alcohol. However, at the same time, you can certainly go into the Lockview, and if you wanted to, have a beer, you're perfectly fine. So really, only the buildings that are within our footprint are alcohol-free, family-friendly venues. So we encourage people to visit the other destinations, and it's interesting, very similar to the marathon, the early years of First Night, businesses would shut down because they didn't want to mess with, the people, and so they shut down, very similar to the marathon. People, I'm not going to fight the traffic, I'll just close down. And now people are starting to understand, or businesses are starting to understand, those are some of the best nights of their year. So they work very hard to stay open during the marathon and now stay open during First Night as well. And in our event guide, we do talk about other venues, or not First Night venues, but other restaurants and businesses that are open, and encourage them to take part in all there is in downtown. And actually this year I have a new relationship with the university's basketball game. And so we're promoting for people to go to the basketball game and then come down and enjoy First Night as well. So trying to create that cohesion between.
But when First Night was originally planned, it was supposed to be for all residents and promoted that way rather than just family. It drifted toward family orientation through the years, and that's why some of those downtown businesses closed down.
Oh, interesting perspective. So I've been there for about almost 3 years. In April, I will have been there for Downtown Akron Partnership for 3 years. And you're absolutely right, and we have a tendency to always say the family-friendly, family-friendly. We understand that in Cleveland, people say if you're looking for something to do with your family on New Year's Eve, you need to go to Akron, which is great because, because we're capturing that audience. But Rich has been very mindful of trying to program things that aren't all about the kids. So we still have Hard Day's Night, which is a Beatles tribute that's coming in this year. We have a new partnership with Gospel Meets Symphony, which is, because it is with Gospel Meets Symphony, it's the first time we've worked with the symphony for a long time, just because of cost, that it's so expensive. So we have this really cool Gospel Meets Symphony collaboration going on, and hopefully at the end of the night, we're gonna be singing all together in Main Street. I agree with you. It is a challenge. I have young ones myself, so it's appealing for me to come, and there are certainly crafts and things for them to do. We also focus, the Shops at Akron Center is more child-centered, and we pitch it that way in our event guide, while a place like Greystone Hall would have entertainment that is more friendly for all ages. Yes, more all ages oriented. None of them are specifically adult-oriented, because I think if we put that in our event guide, people might raise their eyebrows.
Over the age of 30.
Over the age of 30, yes, the over 30 programming. But so we hope to keep doing that. Again, taking a look at it every year, that analysis is really important to us to make sure that we are appealing to all of the folks. So thank you. Thanks for that.
A couple of the big projects that have come up that have been talked about, the Mayflower and a hotel downtown. You talk about downtown Akron as a neighborhood. How do those kind of projects, how do you see them impacting the neighborhood?
Oh, good question. So hotels, there are two that are sort of the closest to the finish line, the one being in the Greystone project, the other one at Northside. Having a hotel in downtown that is of a quality where we could book conventions and things like that, that's unfortunately what we're dealing with, because we do have a hotel in downtown, but it's just not quite the level of service that is expected when someone's booking a convention or doing a large-scale event. So having a hotel of that quality would open up an enormous amount of opportunity for the John S. Knight Center to program more events. It would also open up enormous opportunity for retail development. So one of the things our retail study folks are telling us is rooftops drive retail, and that's residents and also folks that would be staying in a hotel. So if they're staying here, they might have the opportunity to enjoy some of the boutique retail that we could build around them. And you'd have more people in the restaurants, so they'd be less threatened by the food trucks, and it would be just a perfect downtown environment. But so those are all things that we want to take into account as we're moving forward, and hopefully, and working with the hotel planners as well, things you have to think about, and this goes to the circulator. If there's a hotel at Northside, if you've ever tried to walk from Northside into downtown, it's not the most pedestrian-friendly way. And there have been pipe dreams of a tunnel that would go right underneath the railroad, but you're talking about a state route and two different railroad systems all having to agree with having a tunnel underneath them. I don't see that one moving forward, but a circulator would be a very reasonable solution to try to get people from that hotel space to enjoy the downtown area.
What can Akron learn from the Downtown Kent project?
Ooh, so downtown Kent is gorgeous. If you've been in downtown Kent, it looks absolutely beautiful. There is a lot of private investment that has been leveraged in downtown Kent, as well as some of those initial federal government dollars that made certainly a huge impact in having that money to I hate using the word leverage, but it really does, to leverage those other contributions made a huge difference for them. I love the way that Kent planned development of alleyways and creating some small, dense areas where people can bump into each other. I love that about Kent. I also love their use of the waterway. So I would like to see Akron take more advantage of the canal in a, not necessarily a similar way, but to somehow program the canal as a water feature and something that's attractive in the downtown neighborhood.
How late are your safety services available in the evening?
In the evening, they are currently available until 8 p.m. and on Fridays and Saturdays available until 11. Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, thank you, Keith, until 11 p.m. And so that's one of those things as we continue to develop, as we have more residents, as we have more visitors doing things on other nights of the week other than just Thursdays, we would like to have them around a little bit later. And that's part of our renewal package, which our services plan is inside of your folder. That is sort of our dream for 2015 to 2019, and that is where we are asking for, right now, we're in the process of asking for Special Improvement District property owners to sign off on a petition to keep us here for the next 5 years.
Okay, and wrapping up. A request for ideas to attract more activities in residents was made earlier. How'd it work out? And number 2, how can folks offer new ideas?
Oh, offer new ideas at any time. All of us answer our phones when we are in the office, so you can just call us directly. That's sometimes the best way to do it. I'm trying to think of the reference. It says a request was made. I'm trying to think if it's the survey. The survey, we always collect all of the open-ended responses to the survey, and we look at those. It was interesting, the survey so far, I think we had about almost 400 respondents, and a lot of folks are asking for retail. A lot of folks are asking for additional dining destinations. Trying to think of some of the top ones. Some work on the sidewalks, which is not something we can control, but something we can certainly advocate for. And that was pretty much all of the larger, signage is always a big one for visitors because they have a hard time finding parking decks and things like that if they're not familiar with the downtown area. I hope that answers whoever's question. Please grab me if I'm missing the opportunity to answer your question better.
All right, those are all the ones I had in advance. Any others? Going? Thank you very much.
Thank you.